Good morning and welcome. I'm Patrick Roche, and I lead the development organization here at Goodwill SoCal. Greetings to you from the headquarters of Goodwill Northeast Pasadena, which also doubles as my garage. We're really delighted you're spending a little bit of your Tuesday morning with us here. I think you're going to like what we have in store for you. Normally this is the time of year where we put on an event called our Thanks for Giving luncheon, where we thank our philanthropic partners for their outstanding support of Goodwill in so many ways. We're not going to have that event this year, but if we did, we'd be calling it the Really, Really Thank You for Giving event. Because without your support, the magic of Goodwill this year in particular wouldn't be as possible as it is. Today's event is a glimpse at what's happening in the world of workforce and career development. And to that end, we brought together some of our leadership and also one of our funding partners to share some of their perspectives. I'm here to provide you with a brief organizational update. 2020 is a year that defies description. For many people, it means the pain of staying and working from home and seeing if they can survive 24 hours a day with their families. And for us, it's been much of the same, but more fundamentally, it's been about reimagining what we do and how we do it as an organization. We used to talk about the future as something that was far away, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. But it seems like much of that is what we're facing today. Giant leaps forward in technology, and the gaps that exist for those who don't have access to it, accentuating that. Entire industries that are upended, and job seekers wondering where and if their job skills will apply next. Social justice rising to the level of action. Through it all, we at Goodwill are focused on one goal, ensuring that we'll rise to serve communities across SoCal as we have for almost 105 years. For our social enterprise this year, our stores, the priority has really been on safety and on the needs of our thousands of team members. We've been committed to making sure that our shopping experience is as safe as can be and have invested heavily into making sure that's the case. Just as one example, we're one of the few retailers, Apple being the other, that requires our customers to take a temperature check before they're allowed to go inside. But in the larger terms, 2020 has forced us to think about the future of our stores in grander terms, to think about how we must push forward on e-commerce initiatives to make sure that we can drive the dollars that we need to, regardless of what factors might be around us. And along with that, that we rise up and bring the associated jobs and training in e-commerce types of opportunities for our participants. For my compatriots in WCD, this year has been about being on the front lines of this crisis and preparing to rise to meet the needs of our communities and make sure our participants can find their next good job together. For us here in development, it's meant trying to get closer to our funders and our partners, folks like you, even though we're far away, as we work to address the crisis of unemployment that is rising and looming in the shadow of COVID. I must tell you that this is a year that's been humbling. So for us at Goodwill, 2020 has been a year of great uncertainty, right? If I look back to the days of April and May, I could see firsthand that we didn't quite know what the future had in store for us. And now with the second wave looming in the background, we're not maybe sure of what's going to happen quite yet. But what we are sure of is this: Goodwill is galvanized behind our mission to transform lives through the power of work. We are energized and moving towards it as an organization united because we know we have to be there to rise together to help Goodwill, help our communities across SoCal get back onto their feet. One of the great joys for me this year has been working closer with my team than ever before. And to that end, it's a great pleasure for me to introduce my colleague and great friend and the head of our foundation's work, Dr. Margaret Frericks.
Thank you, Patrick, and thanks to everyone for attending. I'm here to introduce and engage in a conversation with our first speaker, Nate Grazier, who's a Director of Veterans Initiatives at the Southern California Grantmakers. Nate is both a social worker with a master's and a doctorate in the field, and with a master's in divinity, an Army chaplain at the California National Guard. He works on policies and programs for supporting service members as they transition out of the military. And as a passionate advocate for veterans and military families, Nate has led many veterans initiatives in Los Angeles, including the one we've asked him here to speak about, the Veterans Peer Access Network, or VPAN, in which Goodwill Southern California is a very happy participant. So welcome, Nate, and we're really happy you could join us today.
Wonderful. It's great to be here.
Go ahead. Thanks, Nate. I was going to start with just, can you explain to us, what VPN is, how it's organized, and what were the problems or issues that in the veterans community that it was designed to address?
Yeah, well, thank you. So like any good military or veteran, we like to use acronyms. And so VPN is abbreviated for Veteran Peer Access Network. And really, the VPN was designed as a brainchild of the current director of LA County Department of Mental Health, Dr. John Sharon. And it was designed as a way to connect veterans to the communities to which they come. One of the challenges that a lot of veterans face, and we've seen this in study after study over the last decade, that most veterans get out of the military underprepared and absolutely disconnected from the communities that they serve or live in. And it's part of that is due to military life, but it's also an old tale as well. Coming home from war and service has been one of the hardest parts of being a warrior for a long time. Everything from old stories like the Odyssey to Greek plays like the Philoctetes. Warriors always had struggled to come home. And so one of the reasons the VPN was designed and implemented in its current form was in the last couple of years, we've decided that really what we need today is more infrastructure to connect people, a network of sorts. And so as part of that effort, the county funded the first public-private partnership to provide 55 peers across LA County to build a network to make sure that vets don't get lost on the way home. So it's kind of the big picture.
Great. Well, so speaking of that model, the public-private partnership, which is with the LA County Department of Mental Health, and then for the funder, and then the private implementation through organizations like Goodwill. What was the genesis for this idea, and what are the advantages of that kind of model?
Yeah, so this is really exciting. This program and the network really hasn't been done at this scale. Certainly not across the county in Los Angeles. But so one of the reasons that it was decided that we was going to be a public-private partnership specifically with Southern California Grantmakers is that SCG has really been at the table thinking through and how to design better support and services. Many of the funders that are part of Southern California Grantmakers fund veteran services. Some of them may be even funders or supporters of Goodwill Southern California. And so as part of that role at SCG, it made sense to use some of that expertise and some of that ability to leverage the experience of our funders and funding community to actually help design and build and really actually be the action arm of the Veteran Peer Access Network. Traditionally, counties don't do things very quickly, right? Even just the funding cycle, right? The board, we are actioning a board motion in 2019. And so, right, it just takes time. Between fiscal years, it takes time to roll out big programs. And so in the foresight of Dr. John Sharon at LA County Mental Health and a lot of the other leadership, they said, look, if we really want to build this, and particularly with the current pandemic, it's only exacerbated a lot of these problems, right? Veterans and really all of us are more disconnected than we've ever been. So part of the idea here is that we build that SCG could be the arm of action for funding. So the county provided the resources and the support, and then SCG could use their experience to leverage and sort of move into and actually implement. And so that's what happened. Starting in July, we released an RFP at breakneck speed, 45 days, and then developed these review panels, and then contract start date in October. And we're hoping to soft roll out the actual peers providing services in January. That's just unthinkable speed for program roll out in a different setting.
So as somebody who actually wrote one of the proposals for applying to the program, I know that the services will be provided by battle buddies and squad leaders, and I really love the use of the military lingo within the program, who have military experience. Can you walk us through maybe what a typical service delivery would be like for a veteran or a military family member? They walk into a rally point. What kind of things can they expect to happen?
Yeah, so the nature of the support the VPN will provide is peer support. And peer support is different than traditional like clinical support, where you might go in and then someone diagnoses you, or you might receive some kind of clinical care. Although there's support there if you need it, peer support is different. It's based off this idea that you are meeting with someone who has lived experience, someone who's transitioned, maybe even just a few years before you, someone who may have faced very similar issues, right? And you know it's not victimizing, right? It doesn't tend to say, hey, something's wrong with you, that's why you came in. It says, hey, look, like these are common challenges. I had the same challenge too, and this is what helped me. And so that's the building block for peer support. We also know vets are just more likely to want to speak to vets, right? Because they feel like you get what I'm going through. You get how difficult it is to transition home. And a key part of this as well is that the VPN is built around the idea that sort of all rising tides rise all boats. And so we all have to know our part in a larger system. And that, if, let's say Goodwill, you provide peer support through the VPN and employment services, but maybe you don't have the expertise around mental health or maybe housing. And so, but you know someone who does, and you're plugged into a network. You say, look, we can't do that, but I tell you what, let's make sure you get the support. One of the things one of the impetus for the VPN, I think that we certainly know at this point, is that everything is connected. Here we're connected via electrons, but employment issues turn into housing issues. And if you've ever been unemployed, you know it's a mental health issue. It can be anyway. And so all of these things are connected. And so we just want our peers and the service providers to understand their role in not only referring, but then providing services, but then also being able to refer when needed.
Great. So, an extension of that. So one of the reasons Goodwill is really excited to be a part of this program is that we also work with unique populations other than veterans, like people like the homeless, the formerly incarcerated, disconnected youth, populations like that. And so that maybe how this program is set up would be applicable to those groups too. And I just like your opinion on the applicability of that.
It's a great question. I think veterans, veterans are vulnerable because they sort of willingly choose to put themselves in a vulnerable position on behalf of the people that they love and serve, right? And so they leave. I've spent a year away. I had a child while I was deployed in 2018, right? We just the nature of service takes you away from the people and families that you love and really are there to serve and protect. And so what that does is it makes you sort of innately also vulnerable to some of the challenges that exist in our current world. And I think it's probably fair to say that most of us have never been more disconnected from the people and family and friends. That stings true this holiday, right? Where many of us won't be able to see our friends and family. I know our Christmas just canceled. And so really thinking through what does that look like to connect people to a society that's already pretty disconnected. And so one thing my hope for what the VPN can demonstrate is not only the power of peer support to help people navigate those, but also to offer some connection to community and to resources and to people. Social isolation is a real thing, and people feel alone, and we need each other to help make sense of the world. And especially when we're going through difficult times, as many, I know Patrick mentioned that, as many of us have this year, this really sort of brings up the need for really mobilizing a support force, a force of people that can help you make sense of the stressors and the things that are going on in the world. None of us want to, there's one thing you don't want to be when you're suffering or when you're experiencing any kind of hardship, and that's alone. And so I think the lessons that we learn from VPN and peer support can be applied to all different populations, right? People don't want to be alone when they're trying to navigate challenging environments, right? The first thing I do is I call somebody I love or care about. And that's what we want, right? We want a peer network of people who, you can call me if you need help. Hey, I'm connected. I'm part of the network. I can get you where you need to go if you're having problems. So I think we may start with veterans, but like many things about population, I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from a lot of other populations as well.
Thanks. I agree. And that's, like I said, that's why we're really excited about this and I couldn't agree more, like this idea that we have just lost so much touch with others, and that, to heal the country in so many ways, we are just really going to have to come together. And this is hopefully a good model for that. Just the last part is just, can you give us an update? I know it's only been a few months that we're, gotten into it, but just give us an update on where we are with the VPN.
To refer to this, we're ending the year, but I think I like to refer to this as like if I had a Rocky soundtrack, or whatever, right? Some pump up music. We are just in the process of training up the first cohort of peers. And the idea is that in the next couple months, really by the end of January, most of the peers would be trained up, which is pretty exciting. And then actually providing peer support. So actually connecting with veterans who are in need of something, and maybe not even just in need of something, veterans who just want to be connected to a larger community. We know many of the veterans who face issues around homelessness, suicide, aren't connected to services anyway. And so really what we see in that is that there's a need for community, and that's where we're at. Right now we have 5 community-based organizations who are delivering. One of those is Goodwill in Supervisory District number 3. But there are 5 of those, and it's all over the county. And so in the next 6 months, we'll be rolling out a software platform to help unite us, to help people stay connected, and as well as helping all the organizations figure out where they're going to put their peers, where they're going to have these rally points, as we call them, gathering points. And potentially it comes at a time where we might have a little more flexibility with actually seeing and face-to-face with this hope of this vaccine as it rolls out. So we'll see. It's exciting. If you don't know anything about it, please just Google VPN and find out more. We're gonna be sticky people, so to say, right? If you're a vet and you come to Los Angeles, there's gonna be a community for you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Nate. It was great to hear from you and about the program. But I'm going to move now on to Priscilla Sue is going to introduce our speakers from our Workforce and Career Development Department.
Thank you, Dr. Freericks and Dr. Grazier, for that conversation on the importance of community and wraparound support services. My name is Priscilla Sue, and I'm part of the foundations team with Goodwill Southern California. But I'd like to introduce Dr. Luis Barrera Castañón, Senior Director of Strategic Operations, to share a little bit about our workforce and career development services.
Thanks, Priscilla, and thank you to those watching. Today, I'm actually here to talk a little bit about sort of the evolution of our work and where we are now in workforce development. And I'd just like to acknowledge a couple of things that Nate said in the previous segment, which is one is that everything is connected. And so we have a couple of slides to share with you all about sort of our work in this space and how our workforce development space has changed really over the last 6 years. But for Goodwill Southern California, it's really been through the evolution of our organization. So The evolution of workforce development really shifted, huge tectonic shifts for us in 2014. That's when the Workforce Innovations and Opportunity Act, also called WIOA, um, shifted, and it really started to focus on the idea that we are all connected, that everything is connected. So systems are connected, right? There is no reason why the Department of Justice, the Department of Labor, and several other departments, Health and Human Services, Education, why they shouldn't be connected through common metrics. And so it really started to create a new accountability and outcome system. And through those new systems and through that new shift came a focus on career pathways, really focused on not only the supply side of the equation, right, who we train and how we place them out into jobs, but also on the demand side of the equation. What jobs are available? What do the employers need? And how do we really get to be more employer centric in that way? And then the other focus was really on the special populations. Margaret mentioned this a little bit, but the special populations, individuals who have significant barriers to employment, those that have faced incarceration or experiencing homelessness, that's now the focus of our system, which before it wasn't as solidified as it is now. And so now the focus for us is to see how do we integrate as a system, right? If you think of just the state of California, and if you focus that into Southern California, you have over 160 cities in Southern California, if you just count Los Angeles County, Riverside, and San Bernardino. 160 cities, you have so many different supervisory districts, three counties, right? Supervisory districts, you have council districts, you have all these different segments that are all doing some form of economic or workforce development. And really the idea behind sort of this new shift within workforce development is to see how do we all integrate, how do we collaborate for the benefit of our communities, and also so that we are good stewards of our funding. And so some of those models that we've come up with through this work has been things like the earn and learn model, or otherwise known as apprenticeships or work experience. But it's really providing an opportunity for someone to learn on the job and be paid for that experience. And that's really where the evolution of our work has moved into. For those that shop at Goodwill, we provide job training programs for individuals. So those individuals that you see in the stores that are helping you are individuals that are looking to update their skills, learn a new skill, and then hopefully transition to another job. And so that's really part of the earn and learn model that Goodwill has been doing for a while, but that now it's part of the system. And now we're connecting credentials and educational attainment outcomes to that as well. So it's very exciting. Next slide, please. And then what that means for us in terms of this evolution of work is the focus on creating cultures of learning. And what you see from our slide is that cultures of learning mean that we really need to focus on the employers who are working with our participants. And so a lot of our work, not only as an employer that Goodwill is, but we are also a workforce development provider. We have 12 employment centers throughout the three counties that I mentioned earlier. And so through those employment centers, we provide tailored and unique and specialized unique services to employers. And what we've learned through that whole process is that employers need support in setting up structures, setting up systems, developing policies so that they have enough funding and support as an organization, as a business, to support individuals who might have been incarcerated, who might be experiencing homelessness, or other special populations that need that extra support and that need that supportive environment within that company. And so what we've been doing over the last 5 years has really been to figure out what are the unique needs of employers. And we've done a lot of great work through our manufacturing work. We've created this upskilling matrix, which is really an assessment for employers to think about what are the professional development needs of their companies, and then how do we build that professional development network within their own organization. How do we train mentors? How do we see what are the gaps between the skills that they have on the floor and maybe what they are lacking? And then really the focus of the upskilling matrix is to focus on training and development. And the way that we do this is by tapping into existing resources, into existing dollars that are either through the workforce development system, through the educational system, or through just the local governments in order to support those employers. Because local legislatures, local councils need to also ensure that these businesses are competitive and that they grow and they bring more jobs. And so Goodwill, as a regional entity, right, we cover 3 counties. It really is a great opportunity for us to build regional collaborations and to institutionalize some of the learning that we've created in order to ensure that employers have the resources needed to be able to support employees as they come and do these new learn and earn models, or these earn and learn models, and so for us, it really has been part of creating this regional infrastructure and interconnectability that we need in order for us to move forward. And so in order to talk a little bit about that and what we've done with employers, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Tracy DeFilippis, who's our sector strategies manager and really has been leading the way in providing these opportunities for our employers.
Thank you, Luis. I'm delighted to join this segment today and talk about something I love, which is manufacturing and the earn and learn model. You know, manufacturers in California employ an average of 1.3 million people. Nationally, 98.6% of manufacturing companies are small businesses, with just about 75% having fewer than 20 employees, just to set a context. So manufacturing, although considered really an essential workforce development agency, an essential sector essentially, has certainly been impacted, with large portions being paralyzed in supply chain functionality. Think about just the decrease alone in commercial aerospace. Many of our employers provide key components to that supply chain. We have adjusted our services to contend with staggered production schedules and new safety compliance protocols. Our challenge has been to really reinvent our relevancy around how we serve our clients, how we serve our manufacturing employers. So especially in this COVID environment. So we're grateful. We are so grateful we've been able to offer business continuity planning at a distance and migrate to a variety of online support services. This emphasis on innovative training methods in response to COVID will morph into a future opportunity early in 2021. Goodwill Southern California will be sponsoring its very own program at a 100% level. So because of our early piloted approaches to registered apprenticeship, we are now in a position to register exclusively with the U.S. Department of Labor, and will be doing that in January 2021. Goodwill's apprenticeship program, GAP, G-A-P, will be filling a gap in upskilling current workers, training new workers, and linking educational and training programs to employer networks looking to expand American manufacturing, really made in the USA. As you see, I'm wearing this swag hat. We are partners with College of the Canyons, co-founding a very innovative and unique model. Goodwill will be stepping into a swag model of apprenticeship because of what we've done in recent years. Goodwill Southern California is training over 70% people of color and 30% women in non-traditional occupations. We have an extraordinary opportunity to provide our unique approach that supports both partner pre-apprenticeship pathways and critical employer interest in growing their workforce in new technologies. Goodwill Southern California is a thought leader for innovative, non-traditional apprenticeship programs in the state of California, bringing input to scaling non-traditional models, a networked intermediary structure, as Luis was alluding to, and the advancement of youth apprenticeship linkages. Finally, challenges to sustainability are predominantly around traditional approaches that fall into the non-union category. ETP, which is the Employment Training Panel funding, creates training voids, impeding continuity in support, as well as complicating a face-to-face training, which we expect to be problematic over the next year. Lastly, ETP is not yet structured to support apprenticeship training, therefore limiting an application. The second bullet point also affects the third bullet point, impeding our ability to bring the data necessary to support policy development. Really, the maturity model is the culture of learning that Luis was mentioning. So regarding this last bullet point, we are in an era of systems change around how to design, develop, and scale equitable apprenticeship programs in strategic industry sectors such as manufacturing. The groundwork that Goodwill Southern California has laid in the past 5 years provides valuable insights that contribute to a new breed of innovative earn and learn programs in non-traditional registered apprenticeship. And we look forward to continuing the journey.
Thank you, Luis and Tracy. I know that only scratches the surface of what we've learned and where we plan to go. Similarly, I know this question won't get into it all, but if you had a magic wand, what is one wish list item or challenge to sustainability that you would love to change?
Well, you know, we've been able to accomplish some tremendous growth over the past 5 years with the strategic funding opportunities that we've been able to avail ourselves of. So grateful. I'm thinking, you know, more of seeding this short-term investment in innovative, modern apprenticeship that impacts positive system change in education, industry, and government would be top of the list. I also want to bring an anecdotal piece to you. A gentleman that was a new immigrant to our country went to work for a machine shop. I'll give him the initials AZ. And he started as a janitor in a machine shop in Burbank. And just this month finished an apprenticeship in machine operation, moving towards living wages and career trajectory. I would like to see more stories like AZ.
That's amazing. Congratulations, AZ. That's an amazing story. I'd like to bring Luis on for the same question.
Hey, so I'm back. I think for us, one of the things around sustainability is understanding that everyone's path is unique, right? Where AZ had a path that had an endpoint, a starting point and an endpoint. Sometimes those paths have challenges, right? There's barriers to that, and so we need to be able to provide the flexibility with these types of models so that individuals from all types of experiences can also be part of it, and who also have different trajectories, right? What we know from apprenticeships is that it's not a 2-month model, right? You can't just train and go to work. You need to have really a long-term commitment and connection to an individual, and that flexibility is something that we need for our programs and for our funders. Most of the federal dollars that are available, even dollars through the educational system, are at times only for a year. And some of our apprenticeships are 4 years long. So for us to be able to sustain this work and really move this work forward, we need to really look at the flexibility in our dollars and really tapping into organizations and supporters who see individuals as long-term investments.
Well said. Sounds like we've got plenty of inspiration to draw from moving into 2021. Again, we won't cover it all in the time allotted today, so keep in touch and we'll keep you updated on our work. With that, I'll hand it back to Patrick to help us take it home.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Priscilla and our team, for the work that you put in on this. I know it's hard speaking into the void in an event like this to understand this, but I think I speak on behalf of all the folks who attended the event when we say thank you so much for the great thought leadership shown there. So thank you to our team behind the scenes, and our team that was on camera, as well as our compatriots at Goodwill and Nate for providing a really, really rich and robust conversation today. So that almost closes out the show, but I did want to take this moment to talk to you a little bit about our campaign. It's called Do Good, Do Goodwill. The genesis of this campaign was back last February when COVID was more of an idea than a reality, and we started talking about what the worst case scenarios we might see in unemployment related to this health pandemic would be. Unfortunately, we're seeing more and more of that realized, and because of that, we launched this campaign just last fall. This campaign, I should add, is not some radical new directive for Goodwill. It's really about us doing more of what we already do, and maybe more importantly, asserting the importance of workforce services today and in the years to come. This campaign is about driving awareness and resources towards the crisis of unemployment. It's about us linking arms with like-minded partners, foundations, corporations, celebrities, peer organizations, government, and then stretching the boundaries of those partnerships. So we don't look to corporate partnerships to simply say, write us a check. We say, can you provide us with jobs for our participants? We say, would you give us part of your media buy so that we can publicize this out there? That's where this campaign is going. And last but not least, this campaign is about a very simple idea that economic equity through jobs is an important component of social justice. The launch of this Do Goodwill campaign happened relatively softly, but I can tell you honestly that you will hear and see us in ways with our partners that you haven't ever before. And so I have one request for you, and that's that you check in with us about this campaign. This website that you're on, Do Goodwill, is actually the home for this campaign. We'll be updating you throughout the year on our progress, announcing partnerships and supporters as we move forward. We're going to be telling the story in human terms of our participants, our staff members, and our partners as we engage to work towards solutions for this crisis. We'll also, and I think we have a great forum for this just with what you've seen today, highlight thought leadership in this space, both internal and external to Goodwill. There's a short video that I'll introduce in just a second here that I think you'll all enjoy, but I want to thank you all for taking time out to join us today and hope we'll be in touch with you very, very soon. Happy holidays to you all.
I had all sorts of assistance and learning, different programs that were offered by the city and the county in regards to pandemic relief, in regards to food, gas, doctor visits, rent, different things that were all the things I had no money to pay for. And I was so frightened about. The Goodwill Job Center helped respond to that and put me in touch with these various parts that allowed me to receive that financial compensation. My name is Lisa Hunter. Do good, do Goodwill.
Thank you.